The arena lights didn't dim that night, they froze. Every bulb burned white hot, as if the building itself was holding its breath. 30,000 voices had roared themselves hoarse, but now only a low, restless hum remained, the sound a hive makes when the queen has been killed. Cody Rhodes stood in the center of the ring, arms outstretched, the Universal Championship pressed against his chest like a newborn child. Confetti drifted down in slow motion, catching the strobes in lazy spirals of gold and red. He was crying. The camera loved it. The world loved it. Roman Reigns did not. He stood motionless on the ramp, black gear soaked through with sweat and someone else's blood, hair plastered to his skull, eyes ringed in crimson where a forehead laceration had painted war stripes down his cheeks. The title that had lived on his shoulder for 824 days was gone. Not dropped. Not relinquished. Taken. The final 3 counts still echoed in his bones like a gunshot in a cathedral. 1, 2, 3, clean. The referee's hand had slapped the mat with the finality of a coffin lid. Roman didn't blink. He didn't breathe loud enough for the hard camera to catch. He simply stared through the falling confetti, through the new champion, through the very idea that anything had changed. Paul Heyman hovered 3 paces behind him, clutching the microphone he would never hand over tonight. For once, the wise man had no counsel. There was nothing left to advocate. The split chant started slowly. County die, co-die, on one side, R.O. man, on the other. Then it fractured further, a civil war in the stands. Signs tore in half. Children looked at their fathers, confused. The air tasted metallic, like the moment before lightning. Roman took 1 step backward, into the dark of the gorilla position, and the curtain swallowed him whole. Backstage was a mausoleum. Talent parted without being asked. Producers pressed themselves flat against production crates. A junior referee dropped his headset rather than risk eye contact. Roman walked the corridor like a man moving through deep water. Every footfall deliberate, every breath measured. Solo Sikoa fell in step behind him, silent, massive, unreadable. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa flanked them at a distance, wolves circling a wounded alpha who refused to bleed out. He stopped at the monitor wall. Replays were already looping. Cody's third crossroads. Roman's shoulders pinned. The referee's hand. 1, 2, 3. The volume was muted, but the images screamed. Roman reached out and touched the screen, fingers splayed over Cody's triumphant face frozen mid-roar. Then he pressed until the glass creaked. A production assistant whimpered somewhere behind a stack of cables. He spoke without turning around. Voice low, almost conversational. Turn it off. The feed died instantly. He kept walking. In the Bloodline locker room, the air was colder than the arena. Jimmy Uso sat on a bench, head in his hands, still in his gear. He looked up when the door opened, hope flickering across his face like a dying bulb. It went dark the moment he saw his cousin's expression. Roman didn't acknowledge him. He went straight to the table in the center of the room, the one that had held contracts, titles, and the severed heads of alliances for years, and with one slow sweep of his arm sent everything crashing to the floor. Championship replica belts clattered. A framed photo of the original Bloodline at WrestleMania 39 shattered. A bottle of expensive tequila exploded in a spray of glass and amber. Silence stretched until it hurt. Finally, Jimmy tried. Use, we can. Roman's hand snapped up. Not a shout, just the hand. Jimmy's mouth closed like a trap. Solo stepped forward, ready. Tama and Loa moved to the corners of the room, blocking exits that didn't need blocking. Roman's eyes swept over each of them, slow, deliberate, the way a hangman studies rope. You think this is about a match? His voice was barely above a whisper, but the room shrank around it. You think I'm mad because he pinned me? No one answered. They knew better. Roman leaned down, palms flat on the now empty table, knuckles white. He didn't beat me. He beat all of us. Every single one of you let him stand there and raise that title like it erased everything we built. Like it erased me. Jimmy flinched as if slapped. Roman straightened. Get out. Jimmy opened his mouth again. Get out. Jimmy left. The door shut with the soft finality of a coffin. Roman turned to Solo. Find Jay. Bring him. I don't care where he is. I don't care what he's doing. Bring him. Solo nodded once and disappeared. Tama Tonga spoke for the first time, voice rough. What do you want us to do, Chief? Roman looked at him like he was seeing him for the first time. Nothing, he said. Not yet. Then he sat down in the only chair that hadn't been overturned, folded his hands in his lap, and stared at the wall for a very long time. The next 6 weeks were absence. No promos. No social media. No sightings. Roman Reigns vanished from WWE television the way a storm vanishes from radar, not gone, just waiting for the right pressure system to be reborn twice as deadly. Cody Rhodes filled the void the only way a new champion can. Open challenges. Town halls. Make a-wish visits. He defended the title in main events that felt like coronations. The wrestling world exhaled. The reign of terror was over. The locker room smiled easier. Sponsors returned. Children wore new shirts. Behind the scenes, the temperature dropped 10 degrees wherever Cody walked. It started with glances that lingered half a second too long. A production truck door that closed just as he approached. A catered table that mysteriously ran out of his favorite meal the one night he was starving. Small things. Deniable things. Then the bloodline began appearing in the crowd. Not together. Never together. Solo in the third row one week. Tama Tonga high in the rafters the next. Tonga Loa leaning against the barricade with arms folded, never clapping, never booing, just watching. Cody felt them the way prey feels the shift in wind before the predator moves. He never acknowledged them on camera. He was too proud, too certain this was mind games he'd already beaten. He was wrong. The first real crack appeared on a random Tuesday in San Antonio. Cody defended against Kevin Owens in a brutal street fight. Chairs, tables, kendo sticks, the works. Cody retained after a crossroads onto a pile of broken monitors. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome." As he stood on the announce table, title raised, sweat mixing with blood. The lights went out for the post-match graphic. When they came back up, Roman Reigns was standing directly behind him. Not on the ramp, not at ringside, behind him, on the announce table, less than 2 feet away. Cody spun, heart jackhammering. The arena detonated. Roman didn't move. He was in street clothes. Black hoodie, black jeans, black gloves. No music had played. No graphic. No warning. He simply existed where he hadn't a heartbeat earlier. Cody raised the title like a shield. Roman looked at it, then at Cody's face, then past him to the hard camera. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The message was carved into every line of his body. I was never gone. Security rushed the table. Roman stepped down slowly, hands raised in mock surrender, never breaking eye contact with the champion. By the time 6 guards reached him, he was already walking up the ramp on his own, unhurried, the way a man walks out of a building he already owns. Cody screamed for a microphone, voice cracking with adrenaline and something close to fear. You want your rematch? You got it. Any time, any place. Roman paused at the top of the stage. Turned, tilted his head, then he smiled. Not the Hollywood smirk, not the arrogant grin. A small, private smile, the kind a wolf gives a rabbit right before it stops pretending to be full. He shook his head once. No, and walked through the curtain. The internet exploded. Theories, demands, petitions for the rematch. WWE's YouTube video of the moment hit 50 million views in 48 hours. Triple H went on every podcast that would have him, promising the biggest WrestleMania main event in history, when the time is right. The time was never right. Because Roman wasn't asking. Winter turned to early spring. Cody's reign stretched past 100 days. He beat LA Knight. He beat Gunther in a champion versus champion match that stole the show in Riyadh. Every defense felt monumental, but every celebration felt watched. The bloodline never interfered. They simply existed on the edges of his vision. A silhouette in a parking garage. A reflection in a championship plate during a photo shoot. Once, Cody opened his rental car and found a single lei made of black flowers on the driver's seat. No note. He stopped sleeping. The bags under his eyes became part of the story. Commentators joked about the pressure of being the guy who ended Roman's reign. Cody laughed along on camera. Off camera, he started traveling with private security. Then came the night in Chicago. The Allstate Arena, sold out. Cody defending against Drew McIntyre in a cage match to prevent outside interference that never came anyway. The match was 43 minutes of carnage. Drew bled like a faucet. Cody's shoulder was separated and popped back in mid-match. In the end, Cody climbed the cage, title strapped to his back, and dropped to the floor for the win while the Chicago crowd lost their minds. He stood on the ramp, barely able to lift the belt, chest heaving, tears cutting trails through the blood on his face. The lights dropped to black for the signature. When they returned, every single light in the arena was blood red. And Roman Reigns was in the ring. Alone. The cage was gone. No one knew how. It had been there seconds ago. Cody froze halfway up the ramp. Roman stood dead center, hands clasped behind his back, wearing the same black hoodie from San Antonio. The hood was up now, casting his face in shadow except for his eyes, 2 burning coals in the red glow. 30,000 people made no sound at all. Roman reached up slowly and pulled the hood down. His hair was gone, shaved clean, his beard trimmed tight. He looked younger, harder, like the Samoan bulldozer from 8 years ago, before titles, before tables, before family. He raised one hand and beckoned with 2 fingers. Come. Cody took 1 step forward. Then another. The title slipped from his numb fingers and hit the ramp with a metallic clang that echoed like a gunshot. He kept walking. Security tried to intercept. Cody waved them off without looking. This wasn't their fight anymore. He climbed the apron, stepped through the ropes. The 2 men stood toe to toe. No microphones. No referees. Just the low crimson light and the weight of 2 years crushing down between them. Roman spoke first. So quietly the broadcast mics barely caught it. You finished your story. Cody's voice cracked. Yeah, I did. Roman nodded once, slowly. Now I burn the book. He moved so fast the cameras almost missed it. A spear that folded Cody in half. The champion hit the mat like he'd been shot. Roman didn't follow up. He simply stood over him, chest rising and falling, watching Cody try to remember how to breathe. Then he crouched, picked up the Universal Championship from where it had slid into the corner, and held it against his own chest the way a priest holds a relic. He looked straight into Cody's watering eyes. This was never yours. He dropped the title on Cody's broken body and walked away. The lights came up normal before he reached the ropes. When security and medical finally rushed the ring, Roman was already gone. No ramp, no curtain, just absence. Cody refused the stretcher. He crawled to the title, hugged it, and screamed until his voice shredded, not in pain, but in pure, animal fury. The footage aired unedited on every platform. Ratings shattered records. The internet broke again. 2 days later, WWE announced the obvious: WrestleMania 42, Philadelphia. Undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns vs. Cody Rhodes 2. No stipulations. No hype video. Just a single graphic. A black crown dripping blood onto the WrestleMania logo. The war everyone thought had ended at Survivor Series had only been the prologue. The reckoning was scheduled for 2 nights, 70,000 people, and one final question no one had dared ask since the night Roman lost the title. What happens when the tribal chief decides the table isn't big enough for 2 stories? The answer was coming, and it was going to be written in something thicker than ink. It was going to be written in the only language Roman ever truly trusted. Blood.